Hey guys, welcome or welcome back to the channel. My name is Theo. Thank you for hanging out with me today. This is Rekindled Reader, my booktube channel, and today I have a book tag for you guys. I haven't done one of these in a really long time. In fact, I cannot remember the last time I did a tag, but some of them are really fun, and this one apparently is pretty sweet. And I was looking through the questions. I'm going to wing it off the cuff, and they seem pretty interesting. I think it was created by Jake over at The Bookish Drummer. He will be linked in the description, and I was tagged by my lovely friend Fina over at Fina Reads, amazing channel. I'll be talking with her on my channel at some point as well, so go check them out in the description. But let's roll right into it. This is a would you rather tag, this or that kind of idea. I haven't looked at these in depth yet, but at first glance they look interesting. So let's go ahead and just wing it. Question number one is, would you rather only be able to reread your favorite book once every 10 years or be forced to read your least favorite book once a year? That is really difficult. I think I would I don't want to reread my least favorite book every year. I think if I had to choose, I'd probably rather only be able to read my favorite book once every 10 years. My favorite book as part of a series is book 3 in A Song of Ice and Fire, A Storm of Swords. And my favorite book that's like standalone novel, not part of a series, is Boy's Life by Robert McCammon. And if you told me that I could only read one of those books every 10 years for the rest of my life, instead of reading my least favorite book every year, I'd probably look forward to my favorite. Question number 2, would you rather be forced to get rid of all your books by your favorite author or get rid of your entire library besides your favorite author? Oh, wow. I don't think, who's my favorite author? I really like Stephen King. I really like George R.R. Martin. I like a lot of authors. It's hard for me to pick a favorite author. Recently I've been able to pick favorite books and favorite series and stuff, but favorite author, that would be really tough. What I would say is probably I would get rid of my entire library except for my favorite author because, I don't know who that is. It's probably George R.R. Martin. It might be a Stephen King just because he has so many books. What I think I would do is I could get rid of all my books in my library except for A Song of Ice and Fire because I could reread those over and over and over again. And every time you reread, I haven't reread them yet because I just did them for the first time this year. In fact, I'm not even done the series yet. I have Dance with Dragons left. But I've heard that you can reread and you always find something new to learn. There's so much lore, and I'm going to consider it as keeping all of the books associated with A Song of Ice and Fire and Westeros and that whole world. So Fire and Blood, the Dunk and Egg books, all those books, I'm going to consider them as part of that world. So if I could only keep those, that would be cool. I'd reread them all over again every year as long as I live. But if I had to pick another favorite author, strategically, it might be Stephen King because I love his books. I've read a bunch of them by now, and first of all, that library would be huge in and of itself. He has 40, 50 books probably. And he writes in a lot of different genres. So strategically, I might just pick Stephen King and say, you know what? I'm going to keep my library of Stephen King and nothing else. And that would probably suit me just fine. Number 3, would you rather only be able to read very short books, less than 300 pages, or very long books, 700 pages? These are very difficult. So it's difficult to find books in the genres I enjoy, even a good thriller or a good contemporary fiction that's less than 300 pages. So if I had to pick, it's probably going to be very long books over 700 pages because that gives me a lot of Stephen King, gives you a lot of epic high fantasy. I think that I'm probably just going to have to go with the long books. If this was less than 350, maybe 450 pages, I may err on the side of the shorter books because I do like fast-paced books. I do like short books, and I do enjoy being able to fit those in, squeeze them in as palate cleansers, as whatever, as standalones. That's always nice because as a fantasy reader, there are so many series out there. So sometimes I get tired and I get bogged down with the long books and I need that break. But with shorter books, I could probably enjoy myself for longer before needing something different. So normally I'd say a shorter book, but less than 300 is too short. And I love myself some Stephen King. I love myself some fantasy. So I'm going to have to pick very long books only at more than 700 pages if I had to choose. Question number 4 is, would you rather your favorite series get a terrible adaptation or never be adapted. I would just say never be adapted. Just leave it alone. If it's a beloved series, if you have a beloved series that they adapted really well and you're happy about it and you love it, good for you, lucky for you. I'm so thrilled and happy for you. But more often than not, it's done terribly and it's just a really poor execution. And I would be really worried. I think a Game of Thrones was a pretty good example of how to do it well. But even that, we know how that ended, and a lot of people have bad things to say. A lot of other series were done not great as well. I can point to a lot of examples that I won't talk about here, but I would be worried about an adaptation. I'm always worried about an adaptation, and I feel like it's probably safe to say more often than not, the diehard fans that really, really appreciate and love the original books have a lot of criticism. So I would just say, you know what? If it's an awesome book series, leave it at that. We don't need an adaptation for everything. Number 5, would you rather an unfinished series have a terrible ending or remain unfinished forever? Honestly, endings sometimes ruin series for me, but it has to be pretty bad. So I would say after waiting a number of years, perhaps even decades for, the final books in series to be released, I think there comes a point where we probably as readers just want something to wrap up. We just want to know how that was supposed to end, whether or not we like it, whether or not we agree with it, whether or not we reimagine our own, whether or not people write their own fan fiction, that's whatever. But it's kind of nice to know what the author envisioned when he started the journey of writing that series. So I would prefer like a terrible ending, or what does it say? Yeah, terrible ending, it says. It doesn't even say not great ending. It says terrible ending. So I guess I would prefer a terrible ending than knowing forever and ever for eternity that the series would never be finished. That being said, there are some unfinished series that I appreciate the journey and they can remain unfinished and I would still hold them in very high regard, very near and dear. But, having a terrible ending would just kind of curb my curiosity a little bit. I would just kind of want to know how it ends. So terrible ending. Question number 6, would you rather cut your reading time in half or cut your book buying budget in half? I am trying to read a lot more these days than I have in a long time, and I'm enjoying my reads immensely right now. So I would cut my book buying budget in half because I have books to last me for years, honestly. So I could cut my book buying budget 100% for a while and I'd be okay. Question number 7, would you rather be forced to listen to audiobooks at 3 times speed or listen to audiobooks at half time speed? 3 times speed is not conducive for me to enjoying a book. That being said, one thing that everyone who knows me says I am is impatient. I don't think I get distracted easily. I have a very high speed at which I work, and I just need things go. And so suffering through a book at halftime speed, I think I would rather jump off a building. Question number 8, would you rather only be able to read physically or only be able to listen to audiobooks? Audiobooks are great and they serve a purpose. And for me, they allow me to continue to read while I'm doing chores, while I'm commuting, all that stuff. But I typically balance my book reading with at least 50% physical, if you can believe it, and 50% audio. There are times where I don't own the physical and I can't get it from the library or I can't find an ebook or whatever. So I'll just listen to an audiobook for specific books, right? But more often than not, it's physical and then it's accompanied with the audiobook if I can get it from a library or if I happen to have it on Audible already or whatever. So I like to do 50-50. And if I had to choose, I'd probably just stick with the physicals, sit down, read, prioritize my reading that way instead of only being able to do audiobooks. They're great, but to me, they don't completely replace the reading experience 100%. Question number 9, I think we're on 9. Would you rather be stuck reading a mix of 3 and 4 star books or read a mix of 1 and 5 star books? Oh man, that is a really great question. I think it depends on the day. I would flip-flop between these all the time because reading a bunch of 3 and 4 star books would just be pretty fun. Every once in a while you get a really good 4 star and then more often than not, it's the average 3 star category. That's totally fine. But how fun would it be to read banger 5 star books accompanied with a lot of 1 stars? I think that, that contrast between quality and enjoyment might be actually really interesting and fun for a while before driving you crazy. I think I'm just going to pick that. I would probably rather read 1 and 5 star books all the time instead of just 3 and 4 star books. I feel like that would be hilarious, and I wonder how long that would be sustainable. All right, number 10, would you rather only watch your favorite booktuber or watch everyone besides your favorite booktuber? Well, I don't know if I have a favorite booktuber. I have a lot of favorites, and I do watch a lot of booktubers. I need variety in my life in a lot of different areas, even in my reading. Like I need a lot of variety. And so it would be tough for me to stick with only one booktuber, and, notwithstanding it being a favorite booktuber or whatever, sticking with one person's opinions, one person's tastes, one person's reading schedule wouldn't fly for me. So I need a variety. So I would rather just, unfortunately, scrap that favorite booktuber, whoever that is, and just watch everyone else and really get a nice slice of what everyone's reading, what everyone's enjoying, different opinions on the same books, and that kind of stuff. I need variety in my reading. I need variety in my life. I need variety in my booktube consumption. And so that's where I'll land with that one. This was a pretty fun tag. Very difficult ones. I should have ran through these in a little bit more detail because they were difficult. I don't know who I'm going to tag yet. Fina, thanks for tagging me. Jake, that was a really, really difficult one. I don't know who I'm going to tag yet. I'm going to tag a few. I have a few ideas. So instead of listing them here, I'm just going to put them in the description. So if you see that I've tagged you, or if you want to just do this, consider yourself tagged as well. But either way, in the description, I'm going to tag some booktubers that I really enjoy who may or may not have done this tag. Who knows? But otherwise, thanks for watching. Just a quick little tag video, and I'll catch you guys on the next video.